Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Full Profits Podcast. Stay Ready Athletics, the coach, the trainer, Kevin Gleason. Peace, brother. How you doing?
How's everything, man? I appreciate you having me on.
Man, Coach, I appreciate you taking time. I love boxing. Boxing is something I grew up on. It's something that stayed with me even in the more seasoned stages of my life where I'm not really into it as much physically, but I still watch, and I love watching boxing as well. So you were one of the guys who I saw, and I was like, oh, I want to see if I can get him on my podcast and have a conversation with him.
Absolutely, man.
All right, so
you having me on.
Yes, sir. So how did you get into boxing?
I started boxing when I was about 13 years old. I've always kind of had a competitive attitude in anything I've done. I started playing baseball at a young age, and then from there it was hockey. And I just kind of fell into boxing. I always had an interest with it as a kid. And there was a local police athletic league, Pines Police Athletic League, probably about 20 minutes down the street from my house. I told my dad I wanted to box. And then the next day I came home and he took me over there, and it was just a community police athletic league gym. And just went from there, man. Started boxing when I was about 13 years old, and just on and off with it for a long time, trading it off with other sports like, again, baseball, hockey. I wrestled in high school. And then as I got a little bit older, I got a little bit more serious with it. As far as coaching goes, I kind of took a hold of me, and I wound up just, having to get a job, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just working out of the gym with a guy that I used to train with, a former fighter. He opened up his own gym. Long story short, he opened up his own gym, asked me if I'd come over there and help him get ready for his fights. And that's originally, I was just a sparring partner, helping him get ready for some of his fights, helping him spar. And then I'd hold mitts for him occasionally. He would teach me how to hold mitts. And then from there, I started helping out with some of the guys at his gym, and then it just kind of grew into what it is now, man. In a nutshell.
Okay, how far did you take wrestling? How good were you at wrestling?
I was decent in wrestling. It was never, for me, it was just one of those things. My dad kind of wanted me to do something in high school, playing for the school itself or competing. So coming from a boxing background, a little bit of a physical background, I was like, you know what? I didn't know anything about football. Still don't know anything about football. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to wrestle. I think it seems a little bit easier of a transition for me. So I just wrestled 2 years, my 9th and 10th grade. And then that was it, man. To be honest with you, my academics didn't hold up, man. You have to have a pretty good GPA to continue to do things like that.
Definitely. And as far as I know from being able to do boxing for a little bit, most guys that have a decent or great background in wrestling, they can hit pretty fucking hard. So that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I feel like I had some pretty good pop, my punches and stuff like that. Yeah, so I mean that makes sense, because I think wrestlers are a little bit more grounded with their footwork. They're more sat down than anything else. So I could kind of see that actually makes sense.
Yeah, and then they're used to the crunching of the hands and grabbing and all that toil work that you guys do in wrestling.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so definitely, because I knew a couple guys that would come to the gym, and they would do the boxing workouts, and they got familiar with sparring, and they would land punches, and you would look at it and go, Jesus Christ, man! Like, and then you would ask him like, "Yo, take something off of it," and he would go, "I didn't do nothing."
Yeah,
and you go, "Wait a minute." You might want to box from now on instead of,
That makes sense, actually, now that you say it like that. I've never really thought about that, because I've trained a lot of MMA fighters that have a pretty big grappling base. And they all have pretty good pop in their punches, probably because, like, I said, they're sitting down on their punches, and then what you just said made a ton of sense with their, their hand grappling and things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and now that you said the MMA, think about it. So you get the MMA guys in the gym, I'm sure, like you said, when they start punching, they can hit. And you look at the Daniel Cormiers, the Cain Velasquez, it's like all those guys, like they can crack.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I trained Gilbert Burns for a little while, who comes from a massive grappling background. Oh, and shit. He's definitely a puncher. So Yeah, it makes sense now that you said. I've never really thought about that, but you're
Oh
right.
man,
I've never thought about that transition.
everybody that I've been around that ever told me that they had a wrestling background, I always pay attention to them because something with that wrestling and
Yeah,
that grappling
that
and the
grip,
forearms
the
and that,
forearms, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
like
Yep.
it helps them deliver a punch somehow, man. They have some pop on that motherfucker, man.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's really how it kind of came to me. I was always kind of trading it on and off with other sports, and then like I said, life things. I didn't take boxing serious until I took it serious for years when I was young, from probably like 13 to like 17.
Mm-hmm.
And then, going into my senior year, I kind of just fell off with all sports, and I was doing the typical senior thing where I was chasing girls and having a good time and things like that. But I got serious about it. Like I said, I started helping out this former fighter. And from there, I just fell into it. I tell people all the time when they ask me how I got into my coaching career, I legitimately fell into it by helping him out. And then from there, helping out a couple other guys, and it just grew into what it is now.
Okay. All right. So, Coach, how often, or if you want to say it, or not, I would hope you would want to say.
Sure.
All right. So, how often do guys come to the gym and can punch, but they don't want to work on the basics of boxing, like the fundamentals?
Beginners or advanced?
Either or. Either or.
It depends on who you have. I've worked with, like I said, I've been privileged enough to work with some really good fighters, some of the best fighters in the world, and usually the higher a guy's level is, the more they're actually willing to learn. And I've kind of made my system of coaching. I often tell guys, and I kind of market it as if I'm more of a specialist than a boxing coach.
Okay.
So when you come to me, I don't have any full-time fighters. I work with two guys full-time, but I don't have any other real full-time fighters besides Lorenzo Medina, who just turned pro, and then Pistol Pete Dobson, who's fighting actually in 2 weeks in Atlanta. Those are the only two guys that I work with extensively. Other than that, I have guys come in, and like I said, I'm kind of like a specialist where they'll come in, work with me in their camp maybe once, twice, 3 times a week. I'm not with them every day. So going back to what you were asking, the more advanced and the higher caliber guy is willing to work on whatever it is that you tell them.
Awesome.
It's usually the young individuals that want to come in the gym and think that they know everything, and they want to work on what they want to work with. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen in this sport. Is you got these kids out here that are 2-0 or 3-0 or just high level amateurs or whatever it is, and they want to tell you what it is that they want to work on.
Right.
And I'm 36 now. When I started off as a coach, I would go for that kind of thing. All right, I got to get my experience, and some of these guys have a lot more experience and a lot more fights than I do, and I'm trying to build my name and my resume. Now, where I'm at now, I just don't go for that anymore as a coach, especially because I've built up a pretty good resume with guys. They know that I have good credentials, so I don't deal with that kind of thing. But yeah, man, it happens. It happens quite often. It used to happen to me quite a bit, and I hear about it from other coaches that I know, guys coming in and thinking that they could just skip over the fundamentals and work on what it is that they want to work on.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I asked, because being young, I saw it, and as an older man, I'm in my 40s, so when I see guys go into the gym and you're looking at them and you're going, yo, my man, you should probably learn how to get your fundamentals straight. Like, you should probably learn balance. Do you know why you need to be balanced?
Yep.
During the course of a fight, do you understand why you need to be balanced? And it's just all this, oh man, as long as I can hit, I'll be okay. Like, no.
Yep.
Hitting is the last part. Like, that's the last thing you need to be worried about. You need to be worried about everything else but hitting. Hitting should be the last thing.
It's funny you say that, because Rolly's fighting Gervonta Davis, and that I know I'm under the impression that they're obviously Rolly's camp is going to be looking for a big punch, but you, just like you said, man, he's a bona fide puncher. I'm going to give him that. The kid can crack.
No
but
doubt.
Just like you said, he's missing his balance, his proper fundamentals, and I hate that I'm not the kind of guy to throw shade because I'm not in their camp. I don't know. I would never jump to conclusions. I just, given from what I've seen, it seems like they're going to be going for that big punch. You know what I mean? But they're skipping out on a lot of things. You could be a bona fide puncher, but how do you get to that punch? You know what I mean? If you can't get there, we got a problem. If you can't use your jab, if you can't work, boxing circles, step around on a guy, you're going to have a hard time trying to find that big punch,
Yes, sir. Let's just use Tommy Hearns for instance. The Motor City Cobra had a big right hand, but you didn't get it until he was ready, until he had peppered you up.
100% breaking guys down.
Yeah, until he had seasoned you up really good.
Breaking you down. And that, I think that's a huge problem with a lot of coaches these days, man, is they're not teaching the fundamentals like that and breaking guys down and showing them, just like you said. I mean, the first thing I do with a fighter, especially a young kid in amateur, is I try to teach them balance. Balance, their footwork, and the fundamentals of how to stand and how to maneuver and move before anything else. You know what I mean? That stuff will come.
Yeah. For those who don't understand when we say balance, you need balance in anything, but especially in balance. You can't throw a punch correctly if you're not on balance. You can't defend correctly if you're not on balance. And you can't return a counter shot if you're not properly balanced. Balance is one of the keys to boxing. It's the most simplest shit in the world. And a lot of guys don't have it because they're so interested in just throwing punches. And punches, you can get to the punch. Like, the punches are gonna come whether you're a hard hitter or not. You'll get to that, but it's other things that you should be worried about before you get to throwing punches. And balance is one of the best things that you can have. You don't worry about the punch. You got guys out there now that can punch, and it's not gonna get them nowhere. It's gonna be exciting. The fights are gonna be exciting, but when they run across a guy that can counter punch or that can move, all that's gonna go out the window.
100%.
All right. So you say you got two fighters.
Yeah, two fighters that I actively train right now.
Okay. So did you build them up yourself?
Lorenzo Medina, I've been with him for on and off for a long time now. He's 17 years old. He's a heavyweight. He just turned pro. But I've been with him on and off since he was 10 years old. You know? Wow. Yeah. So I've been with him for a long time. He just recently won the Nationals. And then once he won the Nationals, we turned him professional because it was very hard to get him fights at that weight. It looked like the trajectory of his career, he was only going to be able to fight in the Nationals, and it was going to be tough to train a kid for a whole year without being active and getting any kind of competitive fight. So, we decided it was probably best for him to go pro. He just had his pro debut in Mexico because he can't fight here in America yet. And he won. He knocked the guy on the first round, and then he will be fighting in August again for his second fight. And then he'll be 18 years old in October. He's going to fight down here in Miami for his third fight. Peter Dobson was a guy that came to us. He was already 12-0, 11-0 or 12-0. He came from us. He's from New York. Okay. And he was already a guy that kind of been on the boxing scene. And he came to us during a time of, when the coronavirus was going around. It was hard to get fights. It was hard to stay active. I think he had some inactivity for about a year plus time. So we kind of just basically put him back on the map. And he just came off of, he's going to be looking to go 16-0 in 2 weeks in June 11th in Atlanta. So he came to us. We've been together now for about 4 years. I co-trained him with Jeff Ports, who's another trainer down here. So we've been together for about 4 fights, 11. Yeah, about 4 fights now, 4 or 5 fights. So, like I said, I've been in that position where I've had, guys for a long time. I've had, 7, 8 guys in camp at once, a big, busy gym. And for me, I think as I got a little bit older, I started to kind of learn what worked for me and what didn't. It's great because you're busy and you have all these fighters you're constantly working with. But at the same time, it felt like for me personally, I was pouring from an empty glass. When you have 7, 8 fighters you're training,
it's hard to kind of focus.
Yeah, it's hard to focus. You don't really have a lot of time for your own self.
Yeah.
It was just getting a little bit crazy. I'd rather, the path that I'm taking now, that my trajectory is I'm going to take on 3 fighters, and that's it. I will no longer have any more than 3 fighters at a time, unless somebody obviously presents some super skill sets to me or something I can't say no to. But it's hard, man, when you have all those guys, man. I several times through my coaching career, I've been coaching for about 9 years now. I've had, 7, 8, 9 guys that I'm training, you know what I mean? And 3 or 4 of them are at a camp at a time, or, you got 2 guys in the camp at one time, you get done and there's no break. These fighters, what a lot of people don't understand is coaches don't get time off. You know what I mean? Like a fighter will go into a camp for 6, 8 weeks, and then he'll take his 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even a month off, where I'm just getting ready for the next one and the next one and the next one. So it was tough in that sense, balancing out my life. And as I got a little bit older, I realized that was kind of something that worked better for me, because I could focus on these guys more and their development, and what it is that they need to work on. So I'm enjoying the space I'm in now as far as that goes.
Yeah, and that's definitely like a key to like being a great coach, right? Is when you actually build a guy from the ground up and you're able to see his career flourish and go through the peaks and valleys and the successes of it all. Because I know that has to be not only mentally exhausting for you, but as well as the fighters, to know that, hey, he never gets a chance to get to me, or you don't get a chance to get to him because I got this guy, and this guy needs to work on pads, and this guy needs to work on conditioning, and this guy needs to I need to get back to this guy because he's throwing the jab wrong, and it's all these different fighters that you have to be attentive to. And
man,
I'm quite sure that at some point you have to go, I need to cut this shit down.
You just get burned out, you know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. And when you're, I think every coach goes through those moments. They're trying to establish their name in this business. And they're trying to, build their resume. So you have to do that in the beginning. And when you're young like that, you can afford to do that. You could put your body through it, your mind. As you get a little bit older, there's a lot more on the plate. So, I was just going through so much burnout on and off, where I didn't feel like I was really getting a break. You know what I mean? And I would have to just completely shut my engine down, and it was just getting to be too much, man. I really enjoy the space that I'm in now, where, I have my 2 fighters, 2, 3 fighters. I have a couple amateurs I work with. And then I work with my clients, my regular fitness boxing clients, and I do my classes. And I love that space that I'm in now.
The first kid you said, Medina, will you just continue to let him box down in Mexico to just get that experience until he's pro here?
No, he's right now he can't fight here in America, like I was saying. So yeah, I mean, he has one more fight in August out there, and then we're gonna start turning him over here. And then once that's done, I mean, Mexico was just a place we had to land. It was kind of like we were trying to go the Devin Haney route, where he had took several fights out there because he had turned pro at such a young age. I think he was 17 years old.
Yeah.
The difference is Lorenzo's a heavyweight, so we can't keep fighting him like that. Like I believe Devin Haney fought like 7 times in the year. Heavyweights, man, they don't have that kind of lifespan on their career like that. So you don't want it to go take them to, and especially a 17-year-old, that much abuse, on their bodies and stuff.
You don't want to burn them out.
Originally we were going to have him fight, I think about 3 or 4 times in Mexico. And then his 5th fight professionally would be here in Miami. But we decided to kind of pull back from that. He's going to fight in August. And then in October, when he turns 18, he'll be fighting down here in Miami. And then from wherever that happens, we'll see what happens.
Okay. My other question about your 2 fighters or 3, are they, and there's no disrespect to them, are they robots or painters? Do they just do what you say, or do they have a specific way of doing things? Like, are they able to just see what you're saying and they do it their own specific way? Because, some guys, they can just go in and just do, and they just know how to do what you say do.
Lorenzo does whatever it is that we ask of him. He's a young kid, and he trusts in his coaches. Whatever it is that we need from him.
And he has time. He's young. He's young.
Yeah, he's young. He does whatever it is that, and that's, you love those kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
Those guys that are gonna, do what you need and not ask questions and, just get it done. Lorenzo definitely like that. Most of the guys that I work with are like that, with a guy who's, kind of, like I said, a little bit more seasoned like Pete, I think that at least from my perspective, I give him the room to, game plan with me or come up with a game plan that he likes, and we kind of go back and forth, and that's the creativity. I always say that a good coach needs a great fighter, because the truth of the matter is I don't know everything, nor does Pete or, any of these, guys, Canelo Alvarez, any of these guys, there's so much more room for growth.
Yeah.
So with somebody like Pete, I've been working with him, like I said, for about 2 years now. We've had about 4 fight camps together. Sometimes, we'll go back and forth and pick each other's brains on little things that we like or don't like. I'm never that kind of coach to be like, this is what I like, this is what you should do. And some coaches work off that, and that works for them, right? But for me personally, if I think that you're a smart enough fighter, I believe in picking your mind. What do you see, especially if we game plan for a specific guy? What do you see that this guy does is what I see, and you come together with that. You know what I mean? But some guys, man, some fighters, everybody's different, right? Some guys you need to tell them what to do. Other guys kind of are going to come to the plate and already know what they need to do and how to get it done. I'm lucky that I've been able to train a guy like Pete because he's, like I said, for a younger guy, he's a very crafty, veteran, minded individual. And he'll show me something sometimes in the gym. And I put my ego aside just to pick his brain and vice versa.
Yeah, that's a good thing though. Like you said, good coaches need great fighters. So he's seeing something different when he's actually working out or when he's in a ring with an actual fighter, and you're seeing something from the outside looking in. So
Absolutely.
you need those two things to kind of like go back and forth, because either you're gonna help him or he's gonna be able to help you see what he's saying, and it'll translate during the course of a fight.
Yeah, and that's I think that's what I was saying with a good coach needs a good fighter and vice versa. It keeps you sharp. It keeps you wanting to grow. I'm a big time learner. I'm constantly trying to watch fights, study as much film as I can on past, present fighters. And that's such an important thing. And when you have somebody that's a really good fighter like that, you constantly want to learn to show them new things or try to see what they think about something. Hey, I saw this video the other day. I really like this. What do you think about this? We work it. And then you kind of come up with your own formula through that,
Okay. And I'm glad you brought up old school, because here we go. Here goes some questions I got for you. Name your 5 all-time Mexican greats.
Oh, Mexican greats?
Yes,
man,
sir.
Listen, I've never been, I hate to say it like that, man. I've never been a massive Mexican fan like that. You know what I mean? So my favorite fighter of all time is Roy Jones Jr.
Oh,
so
man, you from Florida, man. Ain't nobody trying to hear that, man.
You could already see where I'm going to go from with that. Like, I love a mobility fighter. Obviously, you can't name Mexican fighters without saying somebody like Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yeah. Actually, you can, because I can give you 5 without even mentioning him. But
who's your 5 favorite?
All right, without even mentioning Julio Cesar Chavez, let's do it. Ricardo Finito Lopez, Salvador Sanchez, Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, and Juan Manuel Marquez. That's 5.
Jeez, man, I wouldn't even thought of those. Maybe Marquez. Definitely not Morales. I wasn't a big fan of him.
No, you wasn't? Okay.
I just listen. Those guys are great punchers, and for me, I'm a mobility. I like guys that can move.
Okay.
You know. So that's why I love I think what really got me into boxing was watching Roy Jones Jr. Like watching him move, man. I was blown away by how fast he was, how athletic. And to this day, man, I love athletic fighters. So,
one of the greatest guys all time. One of the greatest guys all time.
I'm not taking anything away from Mexican fighters by any means. Because listen, watching a guy like, Canelo Alvarez, he's a guy that's, I guess, he's a Mexican fighter, but
yeah,
he's still a guy who has mobility in a weird way, right? Like he doesn't move like a super athletic guy, but he can move his upper body in different ways that, you're not really used to seeing certain Mexican fighters. I think that's why I don't like Morales. Like, I don't think he's a super athletic guy like that. I don't know. I like to see guys use their legs, man.
Okay.
So I've never been a huge Mexican fan, man. You should have asked me something else.
No, because I got another one.
Yeah.
Name your 5 all-time greats of all time.
Past and present, man.
All together, don't matter.
Roy Jones is top. He's my number 1 because I believe he got me into fighting. Man, there's so many to name, bro. I couldn't name a top 5. I'd say Roy Jones. Andre Ward is probably my number 2 pick because, again, and that's a weird concept, right? Because Andre Ward was a guy that didn't really use athleticism like that. I'm going to rattle off a couple, no specific order. So Roy Jones, Andre Ward, Miguel Cotto.
He wasn't that big of a mover either.
He had his weird ways of moving. I like the way he moved off the ropes, the way he would be able to turn opponents, things like that. He had his funky movements. Who else did I really like? I can't say any of those guys without saying Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is, he's definitely one of my favorite fighters of all time. Let me think. Who else? Yeah, it's funny because I get asked this question all the time, man. And I at the time I'm like, damn, I should have said this name or I should have said that name.
Yeah. It's crazy that when you do that to people, they forget who they like.
Because I could go through a billion names, but I don't want to say guys that I truly really like. Bernard Hopkins is up there. Trying to think of who else I really, really like, man. I was a fan of Kelly Pavlik.
The Ghost.
I wouldn't say he was my favorite fighter. When I think about guys now as like a fight fan, it's hard to to say who it is because I try to take pieces from everybody that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because certain guys have things that like I like Bernard's in and out style, the way he had like that kind of like an Erky jerk style, and he was just crafty vet. I like Roy Jones for how athletic he was. I'm a big Lamont Peterson fan.
Okay. I didn't expect that.
And a lot of guys don't say Lamont Peterson. I wouldn't say he's a top 5. I could never give you a top 5, bro. I could never say a top 5.
Okay.
I could rattle off a lot of guys that I enjoyed watching. I wouldn't even say that Floyd Mayweather was a top favorite of mine, but he was probably a guy that I love to watch in the moment of watching him. You know what I mean? Who else, man? There's a couple for you.
Okay.
I don't know if I could name a top 5 per se.
My next question: do you think all fighters need to go through the amateurs before they turn pro?
So, I believe that you do need amateur experience. How much is kind of the question, right? How many amateur fights you have, what pedigree of the amateurs you have, and how you develop as a fighter. You know what I mean? You see a lot of guys. Perfect example, Teofimo Lopez. He grew up in here. I've been in the gym. I've watched Teofimo Lopez probably spar close to 100 plus rounds.
Okay.
You know, I've watched him fight in the Golden Gloves. I watched that kid, at local fights. He always had a kind of a professional style. You know what I mean? I've seen him lose fights in the amateurs because of his style, where he won fights, but he lost because of that. So I do believe that a fighter should get up to at least, depending on who they are and when they start, at least up to, 40, 50 amateur fights.
Okay.
That's kind of where you're going to get a little bit of the experience of seeing different styles, different postures, different people, and get a taste for competition at that level, because it would be very hard for you to just jump right into a no fights, right?
Yeah. I'm only asking that because we've seen the recent crop of like 2 or 3 fighters who don't have that much amateur experience, but they're translating into really good fighters as boxers. Conor Ben, you see David Benavidez, and what was the other guy's name? I can't remember the other guy's name, but they're turning out to be really good fighters without having this big amateur background and pedigree. And, you can't really knock them for not going to the amateurs because they are so good. But when you look at David Benavidez, you go, well, he got a chance to spar with Gennady Golovkin, Dmitry Bivol, and all these other great guys who gave him the credit. It was like, he gonna be all right. You
How many
know,
fights? How many amateur fights did he have?
who David Benavidez?
Benavidez, yeah.
I think he had like 15.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't it like 13 or something like that? Yeah, I mean, some guys are just exceptional talents. I do believe, perfect example. Lorenzo doesn't have that many amateur fights. I think he has like up to about 15 fights, if I stand correct, anywhere from 13 to 15 or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, it just depends on the style and where they came up in the gym. I know Benavidez came up under his dad. His brother was already fighting. So a lot of those guys, man, if you're coming up in a gym like that, you're getting that.
You seeing it all. You're seeing
it all. That first class work you really need right there. So yeah, it really is kind of situational, I guess you can say. But I do believe you need some experience, in the amateur field. You don't want to give a guy too much experience, where they're over fighting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see some of these kids, man. Yeah, we got a couple of kids around us that are, 12, 13 years old, already got 30 plus fights. You know what I mean? 40
really?
Fights. And that's a ton of fights. You know what I mean? That's that activity. Now what do? You're already 40 fights in. You can't tell me how many wins and losses you have. You know what I mean? And that experience is going to be kind of forgotten by the time you get to, 16, 17. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because now by the time you are 16, 17, there's a new wave of information that you're getting, and you're forgetting all that other stuff that just goes out in one ear and out the other at that point.
Yeah. So I mean, it all depends. I mean, I had briefly coached at a gym down here in South Florida, Sweatbox, where George Kambosos kind of comes from, in Xander Zayas.
Okay.
So I had trained Xander Zayas for a little bit over there. And at that time, I believe he was about 14 or 15 years old. He had already had 70 fights. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a ton of experience. You know what I mean?
At 14 years old.
14 years old, he had about 70 fights. 14, 15 years old. I'm trying to think of how old. I think he was about 14, 15. Yeah. So he had already had about 70 fights. You know what I mean? That's a ton of experience.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but listen, it worked out for a kid like that. There's a perfect example. He's seen everything. He's a high level amateur. You know how many fights Gabe Flores has? Gabe Flores Jr.?
No.
I know he has quite a bit of, because I believe, if my mind's correct, I think he's like a 9-time national champ. So he's got to have a lot of fights. He's got to have a ton of fights, but there's a perfect example of it, and I'm a big Gabe Flores fan. There you go.
Some guys just have it though.
There's a Mexican fan I like, or a Mexican fighter I like. But his style, I feel like he had so much amateur experience. He had a hard time transitioning into pro boxing. I don't know if you watch much of him, but I feel like he's kind of has an amateur style that's not progressing and developing into the pros.
I had to check him out just to make sure. I haven't, like, he's not one of the guys that like I'm really big on watching, but I'll have to check him out. Especially if he's got a few fights on YouTube, I can definitely just go in.
You'll see a lot of it. Yeah, he signed a Top Rank. At one point, he was the youngest pro to sign. I think he signed at 16 years old, trained by his dad. He
at 16.
Yeah, he's a beast of a kid. Problem is like I said, I think he had so much. Some of these guys, man, they have so much amateur experience, and you have to transition from amateurs to pro. And if you don't do that properly, you kind of get stuck there. I mean, I often say that was kind of what happened to Amir Khan. You know what I mean? He had such an amateur style where he would dive in, hit you a barrage of punches, and try to pull straight back out. You know what I mean? He wouldn't roll out or turn an opponent or step around.
Yeah.
And he'd pay for that drastically. Yeah. And that's, the amateur system is kind of like that. It's all about scoring and throwing punches. Like you were saying earlier in this, the podcast, you learn to throw punches, throw as many punches as you can, because that's amateur, right? Mm-hmm. You got to score. Even if you ain't hitting, you're punching the kid against
let them go. Yeah.
Throwing. So, some of these guys, they learn too much. I think, man, if I had the perfect kid, I'd probably let him fight maybe 50 times as an amateur and then turn him pro.
Really?
Depending on his development. You know what I mean? It depends on what age I got him at. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If I could get a kid that was just naturally God gifted, 50 amateur fights, maybe win a national title or two, and then, turn pro at the right age. I think 18, 19 years old is a perfect age to turn professional.
What if that kid had the desire to want to go further and he wanted to be, I want to go over here, I want to go over here, I want to go to the World Games and do all that stuff?
I'm never going to get in between anybody's dreams.
Okay.
I think what a lot of kids are seeing these days, and that's why you see some of these guys going pro, is, there's amateur system is kind of, it's flimsy, man, at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
talk about it.
Look at how many guys turning pro at a young age. You had Devin Haney, Gabe Flores. Who else turned pro pretty young? Xander Zayas. You got all these guys that are like, hey man, forget the Olympics, forget all this other stuff. You know what I mean? I'm just going to turn pro. You're not going to get any money in the Olympics. Olympics isn't what it used to be. As sad as it is, it's not.
The coaching system, and I'm not speaking on. I don't want to talk bad about nobody, but the coaches and the way the system is set up in America is not the best anymore. Like
absolutely.
it's all about favoritism and politics in the system.
Kids are getting robbed all day, man.
All day,
I
every
always
day.
say you're not preparing a kid to turn professional in this amateur system, believe it or not. You know what I mean? Like, the shaving of the face. You know what I mean? Well, what happens when they go pro and they fight a guy with a grown beard? You know what I mean? Things like that. Like, just stupid little rules that the amateur system has that I don't feel like transitions well into professional fighting. You know what I mean?
No.
So, yeah, man. I mean, if I could.
You got me thinking now, man. You got me calculating, because you said that Amir Khan, he had the amateur style, but he didn't perfect it pro. And when I think about it, a good percentage of the time when Amir get caught, it's
pulling
because
out.
Pulling straight back. His hands aren't up, and he gets caught with a left hook or a right hand.
Yep. Think about how Danny Garcia blasted his ass. You know what I mean?
Blasted him.
Can I curse on here?
Yeah, hell yeah. Fuck that.
Yeah,
fuck shit. God damn it, motherfucker. Yeah, it's us.
Think about how Danny Garcia blasted him. You know what I mean? A lot of those guys pulling straight back. So, that's what happens. And it takes a good pro coach. That's why you see so many guys, unfortunately, they start off, they don't finish with the same coach they came up with, because, there's pro coaching and there's amateur coaching. And then there's, guys that I always say that are kind of capable coaches, like enough to get you in there and win and maybe, compete at a high level as an amateur. But, you have to develop, and I think what happened with him was, Amir Khan went to Freddie Roach. That was his pro coach. And Freddie is an offensive-based coach. He's offensive first. You know what I mean? When he come up under Eddie Futch, like that whole system was offense-based. You know what I mean? So they didn't really learn any. I'm not saying that. I don't want to talk about arguably one of the greatest trainers of all time, but his defense just was lacking. Maybe because they thought his hand speed was so much to deal with that they didn't really have to worry about him.
The other thing that I noticed about the top level boxers that Freddie had, they're bouncy.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that are bouncy usually get punched, they get knocked out.
Yep. Coming in or pulling out. You know what I mean? And
Manny got caught. Manny got caught doing the rhythm bounce, going in.
Through one of your favorite fighters right there, Marquez, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would have never had you peg as a Mexican fan, man.
Okay. And what's the other guys? Blair Cobb bouncing in front of Alexius Rocha. He was bouncing, doing that bounce, and he got caught.
Yeah, I think they just have an explosive style where they kind of, bounce in, if you will, explode in with their offense, and they get caught either sliding in or popping in, should I say. I wouldn't say sliding in, or pulling straight back.
Yeah, but I know you're not supposed to be bouncing unless you're going to disengage, and you create distance when you do it, like you're resetting.
It worked well for guys like Amir Khan, and Manny Pacquiao, because they had such blistering hand speed. Like I saw an interview Danny Garcia did where he was like, we had some, fast guys in camp preparing for Amir Khan. And he's like, I remember thinking to myself, like, everybody kept saying how fast he was. And I'm like, how fast can this fucking guy be? And he's like, and then before I knew it, he would hit me with 3-4 punches and he'd be out of there before I even, could get a counter off. So I mean, guys like that, yeah. And he's like, I'll be, you know. And if you watch that fight, Danny was swinging for, you know,
The
swinging at air.
fence. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you have that system and that style, you know, I guess it can work until it doesn't. You know, I always believe that certain guys are, you know, like a Manny Pacquiao or even Amir Khan, even though, you know, Khan had some good pop, I guess, but he wasn't a puncher or anything like that. You know, you kind of live by the sword, die by it, right? Like you're going to come in there and my goal is to take you the fuck out or you're going to take me out. I mean, that's think about that I was actually in Vegas for that Pacquiao Marquez fight. And it was just, he got dropped and he wanted to get him back. You know what I mean? And then it was like, you knew at that moment, I remember watching that fight. I'm like, somebody's going to get knocked out. Like just the way they were fighting, I'm like, somebody's getting knocked out. Like this one isn't going to the decision. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's one of those styles, man. You have to make your terms with it, you know?
Yeah.
And you're going to be an offensive-based fighter.
It did look like Manny was gonna close the show, and I was like, "Fuck, man," because I was getting upset. I'm like, "Damn it, Marquez, I'll bet on you."
Nah, man, I was happy. So not that I like Marquez, and just like you said, like when you talk about all these fighters, we start going. I start thinking in my mind. I start thinking about Tim Bradley. I always loved watching Tim Bradley.
Yeah.
Again, he wasn't a favorite fighter of mine, but they had, you know, a great fight. I think Marquez is a really good fighter. You know, but I was a huge Manny Pacquiao fan for a long time. I don't know why, but at the same time, I think it was because at one time I hated Floyd Mayweather so much. You know what I mean? So it was,
wow. I wasn't expecting to hear
that. I loved him and hated him. I loved how great he was, but I hated the way he conducted his business in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I couldn't stand that. You know what I mean? I don't understand why these guys aren't fighting each other at that level, you know what I mean? A lot sooner.
Yeah, me neither. But going back to that Marquez Pacquiao fight, I was like, fuck, man, I'm gonna lose this bet. I bet this money. And then next thing you know, you see him timing that bounce.
Coming in, yep.
It was bouncing. I was like, oh shit, he see it. Yeah.
It was a double feint. That's what he had timed. He would feint, and then he would drive in. Yep. And they did a video where they released after that they were working that whole camp, that double bounce or the double feint. He would bounce, then feint, and then drive in. Yeah, half step, and they would just split off that hand right there. And they caught his ass.
And when he dropped him, my mouth was this fucking big.
Like I said, I was out there in Vegas. The fucking lights went out in Vegas. It was aside from the fact that everybody thought he was dead, you know what I mean? It was fucking nuts because at that time Manny Pacquiao was the biggest thing in boxing besides Floyd Mayweather, you know what I mean? And it was nuts.
Yeah, when he hit the ground, I was like, oh shit, did he break his neck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, did he break that man's neck, man? Damn it.
It's fucking nuts. I mean, but on the flip side of that coin, I mean, I think Mark has a ton of juice at that time, man. What was he, 38 years old when they fought, bro? He came in there. He had hired that strength and conditioning coach that got caught.
Conte.
Yeah. Loading up the whole fucking Mexican Olympian team. I forget what it was, I forget what team it was, or, you know what I mean? He got caught with that. And then that was the coach he was using. He's walking around 39 years old or however old he was, looking like a fucking monster.
And after the fight, Larry Merchant asked him, where did you get all those muscles?
Yep.
And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, he was, let's be real, he was on the fucking, he looked like he was 26 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, fuck. And when he said that, I was like, uh-oh.
Bro, that's the thing. Is boxing has such a fucking black eye, doesn't it? Shit like that. Like ask somebody that in an interview, man, it's like,
it's like, come on, man. It's like, come on. We never seen you look like this, my man.
Yeah. And he called his ass out. That was the thing, man. Boxing is just, I don't know, man. I love it, and at the same time,
it's okay. So boom. Here go the next question for you. Then, should boxing have a union?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think aside from just a union, I think that there's so many things going wrong in boxing, man. I heard Dana White say one time, I'm sure you heard the interview where he said boxing is a fight is a going out of sale. Like everybody's just trying to get as much money as they can and get the hell out of there. You know what I mean? It's true, man. It's like, I don't understand And unfortunately, it will never change because it's so, I don't want to say corrupt because I'm not saying the word corrupt, but everybody's got their hands in it, right? You know what I mean? Me, you, everybody else we're putting money in. We're, all these sanctioning bodies and these belts and all these promoters and all this bullshit. You know what I mean? Like you can't. I hopped on my social media today and I was burning down Ryan Garcia. I don't know if you looked at my story and shit, but like, here's a kid who, fucking says the stupidest shit, calls out all these fighters and doesn't fight anybody. You have too much of that, way too much of that going on.
Too much of that. Like you should be in the gym getting yourself ready for a decent fight, because it's obvious with him that he doesn't really want to fight anybody.
Nah, 100%.
Like, you had the chance to fight Jojo Diaz. You didn't want that fight. Javier Fortuna, which I thought would have been a good fight for him. You turned that down. That's
probably who he's going to wind up fighting, though. He's going to wind up fighting Fortuna when he should be fighting, what's his name? Isaac. How do you
Dog
say it? Yeah, there you go. He should be fighting him. You know what I mean?
I don't think he wants to fight Javier Fortuna. Javier Fortuna is a hard man, and he'll try his best to get Ryan out of there. I don't think.
But
Ryan
think about
wants
it. He was supposed to fight originally. He gets done. He beats Luke Campbell. Now, correct me if my timeline is right here. He fights him and wins.
Mm-hmm.
Good fight, man. I actually became kind of a fan of this kid. I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? He got his ass off the canvas. Good for him. Then he hops on fucking Mike Tyson's podcast and says he's going to fight Gervonta Davis. And he's going to knock him out in 2 rounds. I want that fight. They said that they were going to make that fight happen. That's the next fight. Then he says, nah, you know what? I'm not going to fight him. Me and Manny Pacquiao are going to fight each other. Then it wasn't Manny Pacquiao. Then it was I think it was Jojo Diaz, somewhere around the lines of that after that happened. And then, it's 95% sure it's going to happen. Then that fight doesn't happen. Then he has mental health issues, or he was going to fight Fortuna. Then the mental health issues.
Yeah.
It's bullshit, bro. Yeah. But that's the problem with boxing, is you have too much of that shit getting away. Like, think about it, man. Why hasn't Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford fought each other yet?
I think at one point someone didn't want that fight. That's just me, though.
Who do you think? and before you say that, here's where I was saying, going back to what you asked me, top favorite fight, Terrence Crawford's one. And so is Errol Spence. Errol Spence early on was one of my favorite fighters, bro. I loved Errol Spence. I was watching Errol Spence before anybody knew who he was. When he was like, I think like 13-0, I was a big fan of him. And Terrence Crawford's another favorite fighter of mine. Who do you think doesn't want that, or didn't want that fight, or doesn't?
I'm going to say this. Terrence Crawford has never shied away from that fight.
All right. Truth. The fucking truth, bro.
That's all I'm saying.
And not to mention, every interview you hear, or however many interviews you've heard Errol Spence say, I'm the A side, right? How are you A side if this guy has gone through how many different weight classes, been a world champion at these weight classes, fought just the same opposition? You know what I mean? What are you talking about?
So what they'll tell you is that if you look at Terrence Crawford's record, all the guys he has fought aren't the best fighters. They aren't the most talented fighters. They weren't the best fighters at the time when Terrence Crawford fought him. All right, that's what they're gonna tell you, and they're gonna tell you. And then what they're also gonna say is, if you look at Errol Spence's record, he fought the best welterweights of the time. He's fought Danny Garcia. He's fought Sean Porter.
Garcia had already been beaten by Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, right? Yep. So he was kind of whittling away.
Yeah.
He beat Mikey Garcia. Garcia was coming up from what, 135?
135, yeah. Yeah.
He beat Sean Porter, had already got his ass spanked by a couple of guys at that point.
They're gonna say
was a tough fight.
They're gonna say he also beat Kell Brook. All right.
Yep, but Kell Brook was coming off of that ass open that Triple G gave him.
Yeah, a fight that he had a tough time. Taken. Yeah.
And he had a tough time with that fight. So
they're gonna look. I'm only telling you how it's gonna. I don't even
absolutely. But
Kev,
we could sit down.
I don't even argue about it.
Yeah, we could sit down about
it. I stopped arguing.
Side. And that's the thing. It's so frustrating for that reason. Boxing is so frustrating. Those boys should have fought however many years ago. Mm-hmm. Why hasn't Benavidez, Charlo, and Plant fought each other yet?
Well, we know why. So, okay. So that's my thing, right? Because, I give these fighters this pass right? But when Bud is saying, I want to fight the best in the division, they get on, they jump on him.
Yeah.
But all these other guys aren't fighting the best, and y'all giving them passes.
Yeah, of course, bro.
And it's no, why I'm saying is because I love fucking Errol Spence. Errol Spence is a fighter. Yeah. People can call him a boxer as much as they want to. Errol Spence is a fighter. He wants to fight. He wants to fight. Like all that boxing shit, all that's cool. But we know at the end of it all what he really wants to do. He wants a fight.
He used to want to fight.
Well, I think he still wants to. I think he's a fighter. I never thought that he was a guy that really wanted to box. I've always thought he was a guy that really wants to just get to you, beat you down, break you down, and get you.
As far as that goes, yeah. As far as that goes, yeah, absolutely. But I look at these fights, I'm like, all right, correct me if I'm wrong. Benavidez, Plant, and Charlo, they're on the same network deal, same manager, right? With Al Heyman.
Yeah.
All the same things. Why haven't you guys fought each other? You know what I mean? Like, that's a fight those fights should have happened.
And besides the whole loss, which everybody needs to get up off of, it ain't gonna do nothing but raise everybody's stock if you fight.
100%.
Look at the reason why we love Hagler, Hearns, Duran, and Leonard, like because they fought. Like those guys took chances on being great. Marvin Hagler took a chance on being great. Like all those guys wanted to fight. That's why we love those guys.
That's exactly, and that's again why I can't say hate, but why I didn't like Floyd for that reason was he ruined a lot of what was, boxing is boxing, bro. I don't want to hear I'm a businessman. You're not a businessman. You couldn't handle any kind of business that needed to be done pertaining to this whole fight. You know what I mean? Setting it up, handling the promotion side of it, the marketing side, who's getting paid, all those things. You have people in the place to do that. Maybe you have a piece of the business. You know what I mean? So, man, just do what you do. It's imagine if you had all these fucking baseball players saying, "Hey, I'm a businessman." You're a baseball player,
right?
You know what I mean? Which in turn, there's business on it, but that's not what you do. You know,
that's why you hire lawyers and managers and agents to do all that. That's
exactly why you have all those things. Those are the businessmen too. You have a small piece of the business, so it ruined that aspect of it. It drives me crazy when you see that kind of thing. Like, look, man, I love what Devin Haney is doing right now, going out there and fighting.
I love that shit. I love that.
You know what I mean? And he was a kid that, I kind of felt some kind of way about because I felt like he needed to make that fight with Teofimo Lopez and stuff like that a little bit earlier. But that's as a fight fan. I understand these kids are young. Let them build their careers and everything else, and that fight can happen down the road. I had to defend Devin on that. He tried to make those fights. He was trying. I don't know. At that point, I don't know what was going on. I feel you on that. I'm like, I don't know who was trying, or maybe they both were, and their management wasn't. I would assume that Teofimo Lopez was the kid who wanted to make that fight too, because look, he fought Lomachenko. That was a dangerous fight. That was a super dangerous fight.
Bob didn't want. I don't think Bob wanted Loma to fight Devin, and I don't think Bob wanted Teo to fight.
That could definitely be. I don't see Teofimo Lopez as a kid who was scared, but I respect him for what he's doing though. He's going out there, and the chips are stacked against him. Let's be real.
All the way against him. Dude, all the way against him.
The only thing that he has going on is he's a better fighter, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But he needs to really go out there and let's face the facts. Devin Haney's not a real puncher, so he needs to go out there and pitch a no-hitter. You know what I mean? And you can't rob him. Like, hey, man, he won, 11 rounds or 10 rounds.
It got to be a 10-2 shutout, and you got to mark his face up.
Yeah, exactly, bro. To win that.
You got to dog walk him.
But the contract he took,
was
with Top Rank. Yeah, going out there, he has to fight him no matter. He beats him, then goes back out there and has to fight him again. His dad's not allowed to go out there. His trainers aren't allowed to go out there. It's nuts. You know what I mean? So
it's a setup.
But that's greatness, though.
It's a setup.
But that's great. A lot of guys wouldn't do that shit. You know
and
that's the problem.
And I'm glad we're talking about that, because a lot of guys are, I wouldn't have went out there. I wouldn't have went out there. You wouldn't have went out there. The guy who's taking a chance and betting on himself, daring to be great, is going out there to do it. You wouldn't have done it because you don't believe in yourself. Exactly. He's going out there because he believes very highly that there is no one at 135 that can beat him, especially
100%.
George Kambosos. And that's why he's going out there.
As far as I'm concerned, he could lose that fight. He still got a fan in me, man.
No,
You know what I mean?
he won't lose. He won't lose me as a fan either if he lost that fight.
Yeah, I mean that because that's what it's. You know, I'd rather you attempt greatness. You know what I mean? Than go out there. You know what I mean? And be like, I don't want to fight these guys. You know what I mean? You're steering away from that shit. You know?
Hell yeah, I'm glad you kind of said it because for years I was saying that you never heard Canelo call out a Charlo. You never heard him call out a Benavidez. He even, matter of fact, said recently over the last year or two that he doesn't want to fight Mexican fighters. Right.
Yeah.
So that came out of his own mouth. That's not even me. That's him saying that. So when you look at a guy like Terrence Crawford, at least he said, I want the biggest, baddest motherfucker in the division.
Yeah, bro. And you know what? If he loses, all respect to him.
Absolutely.
Because he went out there and fought him. You know what I mean? Here's the thing, I think, when it comes to that, is the shit that makes me mad. I think Terrence Crawford, if he fights Errol Spence before December, he could possibly beat him. Because Terrence Crawford's getting older.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
33, 34 years old.
Yeah. If he the older you get, the worse. And I feel like they're trying to age him. You know what I mean? I think Floyd did that shit to Manny Pacquiao for a long time. He just tried to wait. He did that to a lot of guys before he fought him.
I think Canelo was trying to do the same thing.
You know, if I give him another year or two, you know what I mean? He can't really, you know, and to me, I think that shit is weak, you know? Well, we'll see, man. I mean,
I think that fight has to happen this year. It has to.
Let's hope, man. If it doesn't, we know it's not on Terrence Crawford. And I think Errol Spence knows that. I think he knows he has to. He has done nothing but put him in that position. He's not with Top Rank no more. He's able to fight, you know, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, they are the two best welterweights there is, and no one's ever denied that.
Yeah,
no one's ever denied that. Like if
you got Ennis Boots right now, man.
Hey, man, good luck.
I'll be real with you. I think he beats both of those kids.
I was just gonna say good luck to anybody that fights him. Good luck.
Yeah,
because I've had some conversations with people from that gym, and not just that gym, but other fighters who are at a high level.
Yeah,
and they told me some shit. So
a buddy of mine, Wally, he trains what is it, Sergio Lipinets? How do you say his name?
Lipinets.
I forget. The guy who fought him, and he said he's like, I've never seen anything like that. And he's like, and he's like, the kid can punch like you couldn't imagine. He's like, that kid is just a problem. I feel like he's obviously the future of that division. I don't think anybody wants to fight him.
No,
and I don't blame him, bro. From what I've seen, you know, he reminds me of a young Errol Spence, but with a little bit more power, man. He's a
more power and more
kid.
speed.
Speed. You know, dog-ass kid. So you give him another year or two.
I talked to someone and they said when he goes to spar, they have to get people bigger than him to spar because he hurts anyone that's fighting at 147. They said they have to get people that are bigger than him because
he's a savage.
They say because if he doesn't, like he'll run him out the gym.
And kids like that are blessed. That's what we're talking about, like a blessed fighter that's naturally gifted.
Yeah, he's a painter. He's a painter.
Yeah, you can't be. You're born with that. You know what I mean? It's not something that I'm sure he worked on his craft, but I mean, that kind of power, man, you could just hear it even through the TV.
Mm-hmm. You see it.
So,
but the only thing I still give Errol and Bud the edge because they are champions and he wouldn't know what that is. But the capability of that kid is vast.
Yeah, that's why I said give him 2 more years. I think then it'll be a different story. I think Terrence Crawford's he hasn't showed signs of it, but obviously he's older. I think he's going to be 35 years old shortly. You know, he's kind of on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like in a year or two, he won't be able to compete at that level with a kid like that, a young kid, you know, not because he's not smart enough. Hey, you know, maybe he can grow. And Floyd did it at till he was 38 years old or something like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, yeah, maybe he could. I don't know, but I just don't see it at that level. You know, what makes Terrence Crawford so good is, in my opinion, is obviously his IQ and everything else, but his legs are what makes him so crafty and different. You know what I mean? The way he's able to switch over and possess. How would you see that fight going between Terrence Crawford and Spence, realistically?
I'm going with Bud, man.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I'm going with Bud.
I think he just
Errol has a dog. Errol has a dog him out, and
yeah,
I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure. Errol,
he can do
but
that.
yeah, I'm not sure Buzz
Yeah.
is gonna go. All right, I'm just gonna stand here and let you do
Yeah,
this.
exactly. I think Earl Spence has that system where he just kind of comes at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a forward fighter and he's going to walk at you and try to just beat you down, just like you said. But if you start turning him and, you know, and just making it a little bit more crafty of a
But
fight.
that's where it gets interesting, because I think that's where they're the stalemate, because they know what each other are gonna do.
Oh,
They
for
both
sure.
know it. Like, they know what each other. Errol wants to get inside. Terrell wants the mid to inside distance. That's what he
Yep.
wants. And
100%.
it's gonna be the haggler. No, not the haggler. It's gonna be the Hearns versus Leonard fight to me. Like,
Yep.
whoever wants it the most is just gonna have to go and take it.
I think it'll be that and who stays more disciplined on their game plan. You know what I mean? And can execute it. How about that? Can execute it. And that's what I'm saying with this George Kambosos Haney fight. I said if Haney can go out there and execute his game plan and stay disciplined and not let the crowd or anything else get him, you know, the emotions, he makes it an easy night for himself. You know, it's the same thing. I think if Terrence can keep him at his range, he's gonna have a real hard time. You know what I mean?
And let's be honest, Terrence is a very disciplined fighter.
Yeah. And not to mention, there's a reason why Earl Spence doesn't want to make that or didn't want to make that fight for a year or so. You know, I forget who said it. Somebody said something. It was such a great tweet. It was a fighter. I forget who it was. He said, honestly speaking, when a fighter says I'm the A side or I need more money, it's just a way of them not wanting to take the fight.
Yeah, they say
You know what I
that
mean?
those
Pricing
are
themselves out.
excuses. They says you're making
Yep.
excuses when you just don't want to make the fight.
100%.
Mike Tyson said, if you were the baddest motherfucker, then I wanted to come see you and I wanted to rip your head off. I listened to Roy Jones. Roy Jones said, if you had a Walmart built, I wanted the Walmart.
Yeah, 100%. You know, 100%. And it should be like that. I mean, and it seems like that, you know, it's kind of getting back into that wave a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, fighters are out here trying to fight each other. You saw, of course, even you just fought Valdez. You know what I mean? You know,
what do you think of Shakur? Because I don't think nobody's gonna be fucking with him until he meets.
I think he's the next Floyd Mayweather. To be honest with you, I think he beats anybody and everybody currently, and then in the future, nobody's gonna be able to touch him. He will be the pound for pound best fighter on the planet, in my opinion. And listen, I'm not a
Coach Kevin. I've been trying to tell people that, and they're not listening. That's why I just shut up.
I think that after that fight, it's funny because I had a couple friends over, and my girl was here, and she was massively bored of the fight. And I said, I get it. I told her, I'm like, I get it. He's not a fan favorite fighter, but to a boxing fan, his style is just different. It's like anything else. Like, you know, that you have your Mexican fighters, you have your athletic fighters, you have your punchers, you have your, you know, your boxers, all those things. He's a guy who's going to hit and not get hit.
He is a pure boxer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a super, bro. I had so many people that were like, bro, that was the most boring fight in the world. And
no, it wasn't. That was great.
And listen, I'm a massive fan of both those fighters, him and Oscar Valdez. I love Oscar Valdez.
Absolutely.
I like the way he is. I respect a kid who has, again, a kid who tried to attempt greatness, all the heart in the world, but he made Oscar Valdez look horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. That's how great. And I try to tell people that. I'm like, you got to know what you're watching. Oscar Valdez is no walkover. He's an A+ fighter. And he made him look like a C+ fighter in there.
He made him look like he didn't belong in the ring. And when
100%.
you can do that to another fighter, that says a lot about you. But to those who don't know what they're looking at, they'll call that boring, or they'll say, oh, this wasn't a fun fight, because you want to see 2 people go in the ring and punch each other in the face.
And listen, that's what I said. One of my friends, he's a casual fan. He enjoys boxing, but at the highest levels, you know, the Floyds, the Canelos, things like that. And he's like, that fight was terrible. It was so boring. I'm like, bro, that's because you don't know who Oscar Valdez is.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like you said, he made him look terrible in there. He did what he wanted to do. So, I mean,
He kept him on a yo-yo.
Yeah.
For 12 rounds. And just
you gotta
picked them
love
apart.
something like that. You gotta love something like that. You know what I mean? So
all right, we've spoken on this guy, but we haven't talked about him. So let's just go ahead and get it over with. Canelo.
Man, I got nothing bad to say about Canelo, man. I'll be real with you, bro. There's a Mexican fighter. He's vastly approaching one of my favorite fighters of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he bit off. I think he bit off more than he could chew a few weeks ago, and Dimitri Bivol is a very good boxer, and I think he underestimated that.
100%. And there was a moment where he attempted greatness, like I told people. I thought that he was going to give some early hard rounds to Canelo, but I thought Canelo eventually was going to wash him. I didn't think he was going to stop him because I thought that was way too much of a weight difference. But I thought that Canelo would just, be able to just outbox him and do what he wanted to do to him. But
Dimitri Bivol was not having it.
Not at all, man. He looked fantastic. He went out there and fought the best fight he could fight, where Canelo fought the worst fight he could fight. You know what I mean?
And if you're me, you're looking at that going, Shakur just did that to Oscar Valdez, and then Bivol does it to you.
Yep, 100%. So, the way I feel about that is I do believe when they do rematch, it'll be a different fight. I think just like you said, I think Canelo went out there and underestimated him. I don't think he used his jab. I don't think – so you remember I thought a lot of it was a lot like the first fight with Triple G. They have a similar style where they like to punch and keep you off base and not getting a rhythm, Triple G and Bivol. I think Canelo made good adjustments in that second fight, minus using the jab with Triple G. I think he would do the same thing. Canelo is one of those guys, he's a rhythm fighter, and that guy kept him off his rhythm. So I think he's going to have to learn to punch with that guy. You know what I mean? Break his rhythm and not let him get in a rhythm, if you will. You know what I mean? So, and I think Canelo will do a great job. There wasn't a lot of tape on him, bro. And I don't want to make excuses.
You are making excuses. Kev, he had 19 fights to look at this kid, man.
I think
two of his best fights was against Joe Smith and what's the other guy? Was it Sullivan Barrera? Lennon Castillo. You had tape on this guy, man, to watch.
I agree. I just think those guys sat there. You're right. I don't feel like there was a ton of tape the way there is on Canelo, but I'll say this, man. I think those guys are sitting up on their high horses over there, the whole Reynoso team. I think they're having a humbling year here because they just lost their two biggest. They lost Ryan Garcia to another trainer. Their two biggest fighters just lost. And I think that they've kind of got what's the word I'm looking for? Complacent at where they were at. Like, and you looked at that. That's why I think it'll be a totally different fight. Canelo went out there. You think about this, bro. What fight was Canelo winning before he won? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was losing to Plant, in my opinion, on the points. Sergio Kovalev was beating him. Billy Joe had up on the cards. You know what I mean? And then he stopped those guys, right?
You think he was losing that Billy Joe fight?
Yeah, I think that he was. Look, I think no matter what, it went to the cards. Canelo was going to win that fight. Let's be real. Same thing with the Plant fight. But I think watching it from a realistic standpoint, and obviously, like I said, I'm a massive Canelo fan. I think that Billy Joe was kind of edging him. I think Plant was up on him, and I think Kovalev was up on him. And I think he waited and waited and waited. Problem with Canelo's biggest issue is he doesn't start fighting until the 6th round. You know what I mean? And then he goes out there and he tries to take you out. And 8 times out of 10, it's going to work. The other times, it's not. And I think that's kind of what happened with this guy. This guy just had his number.
I agree. I think that just comes from thinking that you can just wallop everybody with a couple punches or one hard punch. Yep. But I also think that comes from underestimating your opponent and thinking that, because I got all these European or Eastern European guys in front of me, I can just wipe them out and get them all out of there. 100%. Because that's what I thought. I was like, man, here's another guy that he thinks he's going to be able to just back up. And the guy's going to fold up once he starts feeling what those punches are like.
Yep.
And Dimitri Bivol was like, yo, I'm here to spoil you guys' plans.
Hell yeah.
And I don't think he can beat him. I don't think he can beat him.
No, I think in the rematch he's gonna beat him. Because of what you just said, as far as the underestimating him, or listen, you could see the kind. Nah, I wouldn't even say that. I was gonna say you can kind of see, I could see him kind of running off the sunset, like where it's done for him. But I don't think it's that.
No, he's not gonna ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, I think I don't want to throw shade on him in that sense, but I think he beats him in a rematch. I think, listen, man, I think Canelo is pound for pound the best fighter right now out there.
Okay.
That's how I have him at,
Okay. And I hear you. I just think
I hate the way they constantly say, oh, fucking Canelo's ducking this guy and ducking that guy and this and that. Listen, from what Oscar De La Hoya said, they offered Charlo at the time. Charlo was making $500,000 paydays. They offered him a $5 million payday when he was still when they were both with Golden Boy, and he denied that fight.
He denied it. I didn't hear about that. I was not aware of that.
I think as far as that goes, it's funny, man. A lot of these fights, like we were talking about earlier, they wait, and when a guy has his name on a contract, he's getting ready. It's, oh, I want to fight him. All right, well, what happens when I don't have a fight? Let's make that fight happen. As far as the Benavidez fight, I think that's the only guy, in my opinion, that would give Canelo a hard time. Charlo's, man, I can't get behind him, bro. I think
Charlo versus Canelo, I think it gives Canelo has a really hard night, but I think he can win that fight. I just think if Jamal was going to win that fight, he would have to be super focused and laser focused and dialed in, and he could get that. Because Jamal is too big. I think Jamal might be too big for Canelo.
I think the problem with them, both of them, is they have a hard time with B+ fighters, bro. You know what I mean? Like, who have they fought that's an A+ fighter?
A+ fighter, I can't.
They haven't.
So I thought J-Rock Julian Williams was one of the better fighters that Jamal fought.
Good fighter, but he's a B+ fighter. You know what I mean? In my opinion, at least. I haven't seen any of these guys. Like I said, beat a Plant, beat a Benavidez, and then we could talk. You know what I mean? Like,
I hear you.
He fought Tony Harrison. He gave him a hard time, even though I thought that he beat Tony Harrison the first time.
Okay.
I had him winning that fight the first time, and they still gave it against him. Tony Harrison, what is it, Castano? How do you say his last name?
Castano, yeah.
I thought that he won that first fight.
I think I did have Castano winning that first fight.
And those guys, in my opinion, they're great fighters. They're good fighters.
Okay. So tell me this then. BJ Saunders, Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, Avni Yildirim, and what's the other guy's name? Caleb Plant. Are you telling me all those are A+ fighters?
I think Billy Joe Sanders and I think Caleb Plant are A fighters. It's hard. It was kind of hard, to be honest with you. It's kind of hard to say if I think Plant was an A+ fighter, because I wouldn't give him an A+ fighter. He had potential to be one, obviously.
He had potential to be one, but he hadn't fought nobody.
And yeah, I was gonna say, and he might be. Who do you win against the title? Who was that guy's name? That guy was Boogeyman at that time.
Uskatagi.
Yeah, the guy who knocked out Durrell. He was a boogeyman at that time, and Plant took him off of hand surgery and everything else, no tune-up fight, and then he started fighting some bullshit fighters. So I'll give you that. But Billy Joe Sanders, I felt like Billy Joe, he earned his respect. He beat Chris Eubank. Who else did he beat? Damn, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Didn't take the fight with Demetrius Andrade.
Yeah, he beat some decent guys. He got popped, right, for steroids.
Yeah, against Andre. So
he was. I have him as an A+ fighter, but some of those guys.
No way, Kev. No way. I
mean, I'm trying to think of who else he beat, bro.
Nobody.
Come to me.
David Lemieux.
David Lemieux was a good bro. David Lemieux at that point was a great fighter.
Okay.
Or a good fighter. Let me not say great. He was a good fighter. He was a bona fide puncher, and he made him look fucking ridiculous. Bro, those fights right there, I just named the two guys. Those two guys, the Charlos never fought anybody like that. Lubin, who'd you just say earlier? Lubin, J-Rock, Tony Harrison. Come on, bro. You know what I mean? Like those guys.
Wait. Tony Harrison at one point was champ. Like this dude was
listen, good fighter. Good. Remember, like Floyd always used to say, and I believe that he said, "There's a difference between a good fighter and a great fighter."
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
I think. Who else out there, man? I do think you got to also remember, bro. He fought Lara, Triple G.
Who is this?
These are we're talking about Canelo. That are
Lara, he lost
fighters.
that fight. He lost that fight. They gave him the win, but he
lost
that fight.
I didn't have to lose that fight. I felt like
I'll watch it again, but I guarantee you, he for the 14th time. But I'm guaranteed
I can't give a guy that runs around all night and like jabs you and runs around like you're not coming to fight me.
But you just said you like mobile fighters, though.
Not that kind of mobility. Like, and that's what I hate when people talk about Floyd. Like Floyd would sit there and engage and then move. There's a difference when I'm hitting you and I'm moving. I'm just trying to score on you. Watch that fight again. I felt like Canelo won. Probably, I think he edged it, but only because one guy didn't come to fight. But going back to him, bro, I mean, Daniel
Golovkin,
I think he beat him the second time. The first time, I agree with you.
Okay.
But he still fought him. So when people give him, but more than anything, when people give him that, oh, he don't fight nobody, I'm like, bro, Golovkin twice. Lara, those are tough fights. James Kirkland.
Nah, James Kirkland was done. Stop it.
But
James Kirkland was done.
You can't tell me he wasn't a dangerous fighter. He came to fight.
Who was the trainers that he had for that fight?
Oh, that young kid, man.
Stop it.
Hold on. Let me go on my list.
It.
Who else we got? Drawing a blank now. Daniel Jacobs.
Showed up for a paycheck.
I agree, but there's still, tough fights for him. Look, the Daniel Jacobs Charlo fight never happened. That could have happened.
Yeah, I don't know why that didn't happen. I don't know why.
I just look at the Charlos, man. I just think they're they're one of those dudes that are content, fighting these B+ fighters and making $1 million paychecks and then acting like they want real fights.
And then they back off when it's really time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Since you said that, when Danny Jacobs was in his face saying, "Yo, if you want to make that fight,
we can make it happen." Yeah, easily make
after
it happen.
After that, it went quiet.
Yeah, and Danny Jacobs was definitely about making it happen. He was a free agent kind of day. He was with Eddie Hearn, but he was able to fight.
That was before he went to Eddie Hearn, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, he could have. He was with Eddie Hearn.
Okay.
He could have made that fight happen. So, I look at those guys.
No, that was HBO right before that. That was HBO.
Was he?
Yeah, because that was before the Golovkin fight happened, I think. Right?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Because Golovkin, when he fought Golovkin, that was HBO.
I don't know. No, because at that time he had talked about. Remember, he had said to him, "He's like, you're not even touching M's yet." Danny
HBO. He was with HBO.
Was he?
Yeah, it was
HBO. A big HBO deal. You're right. Yeah.
Remember, he came back instead of being I forgot what it was.
Peter Quinn.
And he changed his name to the Miracle Man. I forgot what it was before he started calling himself the Miracle Man.
That was a big deal. But I agree with you in that. But the point here is you look at his resume, Canelo's resume versus a lot of these guys, bro. A lot of these other guys. But it's better than name me another guy who has a better resume that's active.
None of them do, but the guys that he's fought, I mean, like, I would expect them to do the same thing that Canelo. I give Canelo credit here. At least when he has a guy that is beneath him, at least he gets him out of there.
Yeah, that's true. But all right, what do you think Canelo would have done to a Tony Harrison or a fucking who was the guy that he just fought? Because like any of these guys, he would have washed these fucking guys. He would have washed those guys. You know what I mean?
Think so? Nah.
Yeah, bro. I think he would have killed those.
I believe if he fought Erislandy Lara again, I bet you lost.
Nah, here's the thing, and I'm a Lara fan. I've actually saw him fight down here.
He has a fight coming up too.
Lara is one of them dudes, bro, that how about this? The way he fought Canelo, you can't give him. I cannot give you a win when you didn't come to fight to win. You fought to not lose. You know what I mean? Jumping around, fucking throwing a jab, and then bouncing out, throwing fucking 7 punches in a round. Like, come on, man. And then just dancing. Like, you're not giving me anything. I can't fight you. I can't fight you. And that's the way I looked at it with Lara. I was like, bro, this guy didn't come to. And listen, that was a dangerous ass fight for him. That was right after the Angulo, however you say his fucking name.
Angulo, yeah.
He didn't have to take that fight.
And they told him not to take the fight. Oscar De La Hoya told him not to.
It was a dangerous fight for him stylistically. And he took it anyways because, Canelo has a hard time with guys that use their legs well.
I definitely believe if he would have fought like a Jermell Charlo or Jamal Charlo, he would have had a hard time.
Nah, bro. They stand too stationary, man. You know what I mean? They're right there for you to be hit. Like, they're athletic guys and they can punch, but they don't. I just feel like they're off balance. There's a perfect example of guys that get off balance a lot. They get off balance because they try to throw everything behind their right hands. They fall into their punches a little bit.
Okay, so tell me this then. Do you believe that Canelo can beat Demetrius Andrade?
That's a tough one, man.
I don't think he can beat Demetrius.
Here's the thing with a guy like that, bro. He has no – we shouldn't even be talking about him, bro, because he has, like – people just can't get behind him as a fan, man.
I don't care about that. I'm talking about based on pure skill set.
Who has he fought? Here's another guy.
Why do you ask?
Because here's my theory is who has he fought? Like, I don't know because he has never been truly – tested at all.
Okay, so when you say that, then this is why. Okay, I can't say that. This is why the argument for Errol is so much stronger because the way you're saying that for Canelo, they're gonna go. Who did Crawford fight at 147?
But with that argument with them. Is that needs to be a 50-50 split with Earl Spence and
I don't care about that. I'm talking about resume wise. They're gonna go look at Crawford's resume. They're gonna go look at Spence's
but you resume. You can't say in that fight. You can't say who's A side and B. Crawford and Spence have both beat legit guys, super legit guys. Both of them have beat super legit guys.
But in their last 5 fights, whose resume looks the best?
Bro, you could easily. All right. Who stopped Sean Porter? Who didn't? Who had a rough fight with him? Who stopped him?
That was an entertaining fight. You know
what I mean? And then he went out there and stopped him. With Boo Boo, you can't even say who he's fought. You know what I mean? Name me the last 3 opponents he's had. I can't tell you.
We can't, but based on the skill set, the ability to move, box, and do everything, I bet you Canelo has a very hard time.
I agree with him. But I do think that Canelo has an easier time stopping him. You know what I'm saying? I think that if that guy can come out there, he's a guy, if he can come out there and pitch his A game and be on point, he can win that fight, relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but the same fight we just saw with Bivol, whatever.
I'm going to take it back to what we originally said. If I'm calling you out and you won't take this fight,
totally agree. And they're both signed to the zone. They're both with Eddie Hearn.
Eddie Hearn, how come you never made that fight? Tell them, people. Tell them.
No, I agree.
Just tell them.
I totally agree.
Just tell them.
I totally agree, man.
We all know the truth. Demetrius Andrade would beat Golovkin and Canelo.
He's one of the most feared fighters in that division. But I think the Charlo brothers, bro,
you can't get behind it.
I can't get behind that. I'm not hearing it from what Oscar Valdez said. He's like, I had paperwork where I offered him $5 million. He turned that fight down. And I think if my memory serves me correct, I think Charlo said he did turn that fight down at the time, or his team did for whatever reason. They weren't ready, something like that. If my mind serves me correct, if I remember seeing an interview on that. So I know that was a fight that I still believe they don't want unless the money is right.
I heard, from what I heard, they offered Golovkin $40 million to fight Demetrius Andrade.
Oh, Golovkin, bro, we can't even talk about him anymore, man. I'm so sad that Canelo's even fighting him for a third time, bro.
He has to fight somebody after that.
Fucking rematch him, immediate rematch or something, or fight just like you said, anybody else but Golovkin is done, bro. I mean, you saw
he's been done for years.
Yeah, he's been done.
Deverenchenko gave him a hell of a fight, and I thought Deverenchenko won that fight, but
yeah,
he looked old that night. He definitely.
And then he just fought that. What did he fight? The Chinese guy, right?
Murata from Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, and that guy was whooping his fucking ass. You know what I mean? Like
And that guy was over there hiding out with the belt.
yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
nobody even know he had the belt.
That's the problem with boxing, though, ain't it? Everybody's got belts these days. I don't even know who's world champion, and that's a hard thing, bro. Like I tell people, I'm like, man, nowadays, maybe because I do so much boxing, I'm not even paying attention to, you know, it's got to be a big fight that stands out to me, bro. You know what I mean at this point? Because I'm like, there's a billion guys that have belts. I don't even know who's got belts, intern belts. Fucking Rolly's got an intern belt, from what I understand. I didn't even know that. You know, I fucking everybody's got belts these days, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think about the young boy, Stephen Fulton? He fights at 122, I think. 122.
I honestly haven't even seen much on him.
Okay.
I've heard of him. I've heard him 2 times now.
His last fight was against Brandon Figueroa.
Somebody asked me about him actually the other day.
He's nice, bro.
2 days ago. Somebody sent me a video of him and asked me what I thought about him.
He's nice. He's a good boxer, but he can switch it up. He can switch it up.
Is he good? Yeah, I haven't even peeped him. What did you say he fights at 122?
122, yeah. Yeah.
Shit, man. I don't even watch that low weight class.
He's a good fighter though.
My girl weighs more than him, you know?
Oh shit.
Oh shit. Nah, yeah. I've never really I feel bad for all those light ass dudes, man, because they can never get the paychecks they deserve, huh?
Yeah, and some of them can fight better than these guys that we think are the best fighters at 154 and 160 and 168. You know,
I mean that's just the money divisions right now, man. All right, let me ask you. Here's a good question for you. Do you think Tyson Fury is the greatest heavyweight of all time?
No.
All right, thank God. Thank God. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, bro. After that fight, after his last fight, I said it for about 10 seconds.
No, I didn't even say it. No.
I got caught up. I'm not gonna lie, I got caught up on the hype because he did that speech and he went through his accolades, and I thought about him like, who the fuck has he fought besides Deontay Wilder?
Nobody.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he beat
Vladimir Klitschko.
Old though. He was like 38 years old.
44. He was 44.
Was he really?
I don't know. I'm making it up, but you know.
Yeah, he was old as shit. So when I think about it, I feel bad because, like I said, Muhammad Ali is another one of my favorite fighters. I grew up, you know, on watching videos with my dad on him, and that was a guy who fought 15-round wars. You know what I mean? So. Yeah. I mean, he's not the greatest fighter of all time. He has a lot more to do before he can say he's the greatest heavyweight of all time.
I think he needs to fight the winner of Joshua Usyk, and if it is Usyk, then he needs to turn around and fight the guy from his own country, Joshua, and then he can ride off into the sunset. I wouldn't even be mad at him. I wouldn't be mad at him.
I think that you could say at that point maybe he's the top 10 heavyweight, but I think he hasn't fought quite the competition of guys, you know what I mean? So
I think those are the only 2 fights for him. It's to fight Usyk, fight Joshua. Because I think fighting Joshua, even if it's Usyk first, I still think that sells out 90,000 over in the UK. Boom.
Yeah.
Get that one out the way.
I think he beats both those guys. I think Tyson Fury is the greatest heavyweight of our
of this era.
Right now.
Of this era.
This era, if you will. But I think that he still hasn't fought anybody that great, you know what I mean? Besides the fights that he had with Wilder, which were fucking probably the best heavyweight fights I've ever seen in my life.
Especially that third one. Fuck?
That was the greatest heavyweight fight that I've ever watched. You know what I mean? It was awesome. That was a great fight. So
what the fuck, man?
Yeah, but I think he has more work to do for sure.
Oh, okay, I want because I don't really. Okay, Deontay Wilder. Do you think something went wrong as far as teaching him, like we were talking about earlier, like basics? Something had to go wrong, right? Because when he gets frazzled or he gets off course, he goes right into let me throw this bomb.
Yeah, and Tyson Fury said it best. He's like, I don't care if he's training with a new trainer, he's going to go back to what he does, and he did. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he started off with a decent little game plan, throwing that jab to the body in the third fight. You know, and then sure enough, going into the third round, he just went back to Tyson.
As soon as he got touched.
Looking for that. So, yeah, there was a lot of problems because I was a kid that, you know, again, man, there's so many trainers that, and I've been there, I've worked with some big names, you know, early on in my career in MMA, not in boxing, that you often get yourself into like a yes man role, because it's like, hey man, I'm making good money. I'm working with the top guy. I don't want to fuck up this job and this, this check that I have coming my way.
Yeah.
And I think what happens with guys like the Deontay Wilder is that guys aren't like, hey, listen, man, you need to work on this. We need to focus on this. You know what I mean? You become yes men, especially these guys that are touching 5-10% of, a couple $1 million paydays. You know what I mean? So I think what happened with Deontay Wilder was that he was a, fucking bomber, and, it was working until it wasn't, you know what I mean? Yeah. And there was a lot of signs that you have fights, like he would have fights with, what the hell is his name, man? Is it Ortiz? What's his first name?
Luis Ortiz.
Luis Ortiz, who's whooping your ass. You know what I mean? And then you blast him. Great, you got him out of there. But, like, we need to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, why did we have these hard times in here? Why were we getting hit with this shot? What were you doing here wrong? And I don't think any of that ever happened with him. And it's tough because, listen, man, I get it. There's a guy who he would say it all the time. He's like, I got 12 rounds to hit you one time. You know what I mean?
It takes me 12 seconds to win a fight. It takes y'all 12 rounds.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. And that's all he needed.
Yeah.
So listen, I'll say it all the time, bro. Deontay Wilder was another one who you could say is one of the best heavyweights of our time as well, because he, in my opinion, he has fought better opposition than Tyson Fury right now. You know what I mean? So,
and I'm sure you've heard that that interview with Emmanuel Stewart where he said when Fury and Wilder clash,
yep,
the greatest heavyweight will be decided of their time between those two when they fight.
Yep.
And
now there was a guy. If Deontay Wilder would have got with a trainer like that, a lot of things would have been different. You know what I mean? Man. But I think he just like you said, I think he got with some yes men. Guys that were just collecting a paycheck.
Do you really think it was yes man, or do you think it was the fact that he was just probably thinking, dude, I don't need to do all that shit?
I think it was a combination of both.
It had to be.
They probably tried to correct him a couple of times because there was no doubt you don't look at Deontay Wilder and say, hey, this guy's off balance. He's fucking, he's not using his fundamentals and his small basics. He was also making it very hard on himself to land that big right hand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He was, sometimes it wasn't that hard, bro. You throw a nice jab, you know what I mean? You switch up the angles on your jab and the timing, you would have been all right. So I think it was both. I think maybe they tried to have the conversation. He wasn't having it. And that's, they shut it down instead.
And it's not to be disrespectful. It's just a critique. It's not saying he's horrible or anything like that, but it's just from watching boxing for so long. And you look at the fighters that a guy like Emmanuel Stewart had. He had Tommy Hearns, who wasn't like this big athletic guy moving around the ring, but he knew how to use his feints, a foot feint. Yep. He knew how to use a hand feint. Yeah, he used his range. He used his hand feints. Yep. And then he knew how to set up his punches before he landed the big right hand. So,
and I think you get a lot of that though, man. I think with these trainers these days, sometimes I look at some of these guys and I think that, in pro boxing, these guys are going to these guys because they have the name, right? Like the Robert Garcias, the Freddie Roaches, the Eddie Reynosos. Like, hey, man, they're already established names, but there's so many great trainers out there that a lot of guys haven't heard of or maybe not working with that are true good teachers in this world. You know what I mean? But it's up to that guy to have his say in what he wants to do. You know what I mean? And that's why what I've learned is as a trainer is this is a business for me. You know what I mean? I can't take it personal anymore. I've learned over the years how to not do that. And I'm not going to allow my fighters to dictate my business side of boxing. You know what I mean? Because I have a lot of fitness clients and clients that I'm teaching how to box, and that's where my money really comes from. So at the end of the day, I've made it so, hey man, if a fighter don't want to train with me, sorry, man, it's not taking I'm not losing any money. I'm not losing any sleep over it. I think a lot of these guys, they put their chips in one hand and, they hope that works out,
Okay. Hey man, I can keep talking to you for forever, bro, about this shit, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We are reaching. We've been talking for a good minute, man. For a nice while.
Boxing talk, bro.
Hell yeah.
I forever about it too, man.
Hell yeah. But I appreciate you jumping on the podcast with me, man. Please tell the people about your Stay Ready Athletics, your Zoom classes and everything.
Yeah, man, you can find me at Kevin _Gleason 7 on Instagram, and I have an online course that I offer It's a subscription base where I drop content once a week, every Monday morning. I drop a different video covering, all kinds of different fundamentals, basics, advanced moves. So you can check me out there at Stay Ready Training Camp on Instagram.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you jumping on here with me, Coach Kevin Gleason. Hopefully one day soon we can get back into talking about some more boxing, man.
Absolutely, man.
This has been awesome. I love this. I can sit and talk about this shit forever, bro.
Appreciate you having me on, brother.
Yes, sir. And for everyone listening, remember the mission statement: when you're striving for greatness, God never puts you in the driver's seat if it's taken. We are done.